we can come down to this area over here for tooling. When we go to tooling, you'll see we start getting a list of a lot of tools. We have point-to-point tools, end mills, form cutters, stock material mapping, form cutters if we create like a special saw or lollipop cutter, things like that. You do have the ability to create all your custom tools, but we're just going to take a look at end mills. And you can see when we go to end mills, we have 4 different types: flat, hog, ball, face mill. We're just going to click a flat end mill. And then here you start seeing another big matrix of tools and parts and specifications and all that fun stuff that goes with it. And this should look pretty familiar to most people when you really look at it. We have a tool ID, like what type of tool it is. You can see we have a 7/64 end mill carbide. The type that it can be used on is rough and finishing, because you do have the ability, if you just buy serrated roughers, you could just put in your list of tools that are roughers, and then you could have a list of tools that are finished tools. Most of these by default can be used for rough and finishing. If you wanted to create your own, you can just start at the bottom here with the new line, fill out your information for the cutter, and then it'll show up in your tool selection. One of the other areas that comes into play on here is it gives you your diameters, your shanks, all that fun stuff that goes with it. Whether it's right hand or left hand cut, again, just a checkbox which way it's going to work. That'll automatically determine how it can be used in CamWorks as well. The type of cutter. This information is just standard information you get from a tool manufacturer. When you go over here to the right and you click a button like I just did here, this now brings up cutting parameters for that specific tool. Now, if you remember in CamWorks in the previous modules, we have operation, library, or tool for your feeds and speed setting. If you put in a custom tool and you go to your manufacturer's guide for that tool and you put in all of their information here, then when you select tool in CamWorks, if we come over here, if we open up this and go to feeds and speeds, if you link that now to the tool for your speeds and feeds, it'll automatically use those manufacturer recommended tool settings. And all of that information comes from right here inside the cutting parameters. So you do have the ability to set up the technology database to have that information and then make it to where people can't mess with it. That is something that a lot of larger companies do, is they'll come in and they'll set all this information and then nobody changes the feeds or speeds because that's what the manufacturer has. Now, you can turn tools on and off. If you uncheck it, it's no longer available for use in the tech database. Some people do that. If they create a bunch of custom tools and then they standardize their tool set, they'll come in and they'll turn these off so it's active or inactive. And you can select which ones to show. It'll give you a right conflict here based on how my settings are set up. But you can show active, you can show inactive. For that, we're just going to go ahead and hit close. And that takes us back to the main end mills.